You know what destroys more dreams than failure? Negativity. Not storms, not setbacks, not bad timing. Negativity. The quiet, crawling poison we let into our minds, drop by drop, until we forget what we're capable of. Today we're cutting it out, not with whispers, with fire, because if you want to live a life that actually feels like yours, you have to start by killing the thing that's been draining your power since the moment you first believed someone who said you can't. Your mind is the birthplace of every possibility you've ever imagined. Yet most people treat it like an open door on a windy night. Any thought, any doubt, any insult, any fear just walks in without knocking. But your mind is not a hallway for random negativity to stroll through. It is sacred territory. It is the command center of your entire life. Every dream, every breakthrough, every moment of courage, it all starts inside you. And if the foundation is fragile, everything built on top of it will tremble. This is why guarding your mind is not optional. It is survival. When you protect what goes in, you protect what comes out, your confidence, your decisions, your ambition, your faith. Too often we give the loudest voice to the least deserving source. A stranger online, a bitter relative, someone who doesn't even live with the consequences of their own negativity, let alone yours. And without realizing it, we absorb their words like truth. We let someone else's limitations become the ceilings of our potential. But here's the truth. Many never learn. You are the gatekeeper of your mind. You decide who gets access. You decide what gets to stay. You decide when a thought gets thrown out. You can hear someone's opinion without letting it become your reality. Once you understand that, you start walking differently. You move with intention, with power, with a level of self-respect that negativity can't penetrate. Think about it. You wouldn't hand your phone to someone who might drop it. You wouldn't hand your wallet to someone reckless. You wouldn't hand your house keys to someone you don't trust. Yet every day, people hand unlimited access to their mental space to voices that tear them down. Why? Because nobody ever taught us that the mind needs boundaries just as much as the body does. And boundaries are not walls. They're filters. They separate what nourishes you from what destroys you. They make room for clarity instead of chaos. They allow you to grow without constantly battling storms you never needed to walk into. A guarded mind is not a closed mind. It's a wise one. And let's be honest, the hardest negativity doesn't come from the outside. It comes from inside us. The echoes of old insecurities, the shadow of past failures, the memories of moments we wish we handled better. Those voices can be the cruelest because they sound like us. But you are not your worst thoughts. You are not your lowest moment. You are not the fear that whispers at 2 a.m. Are the one who hears the thought, not the thought itself. And the moment you realize that difference, you gain the ability to choose which inner voice gets amplified. The critic inside you is not the truth teller. It is the defender of your comfort zone. And your comfort zone hates growth. It hates risk. It hates change. Guarding your mind means learning to recognize which thoughts belong to the future you're building and which belong to the past you've outgrown. Here's what happens when you guard your mind like it matters. You gain clarity. Not the kind that whispers, clarity that roars. You begin to see yourself not as someone trying to measure up, but as someone capable of shaping reality. You stop chasing validation and start generating it from within. You stop reacting to life and start directing it. You stop absorbing negativity like a sponge and start reflecting it like a shield. People will feel the shift in you. They'll sense the confidence, the calm, the certainty. And it won't be because life magically got easier. It will be because you got stronger at controlling the one thing negativity always tries to steal, your mental space. And once your mind is fortified, everything else changes. Decision-making becomes clearer. Goals become bigger. Fear becomes smaller. You stop allowing temporary emotions to make permanent decisions. You learn to pause before panicking, think before doubting, Breathe before breaking. The world won't get less noisy, but you'll stop giving the noise permission to drown you out. You become the kind of person who walks into a room with a quiet power, not because you're pretending to be confident, but because you built that confidence brick by brick by refusing to let negativity live rent-free in your head. When your mind becomes a protected place, your life becomes a powerful one. Guard your mind like it's sacred, because it is. And the moment you start treating it that way, you'll unlock a strength you didn't even know you had. Negativity doesn't always enter your life like a warning siren. Most of the time, it creeps in dressed like logic. It sounds practical, cautious, even responsible. It wraps itself in sentences like, be realistic, or maybe you're aiming too high. And because it feels familiar, we accept it. We trust it. We let it sit inside our minds as if it's giving us good advice, when in reality, it's walking us away from the very life we're trying to build. Challenging negative thoughts means refusing to take them at face value. It means stopping the automatic "I can't" and replacing it with a deliberate question, "Who says?" It means recognizing that not every thought you think deserves obedience. You have the right and the responsibility to question everything that tries to limit you. Every negative thought fights for control. That's its nature. It wants to dominate your perspective, influence your emotions, and dictate your decisions. But a thought only has power if you believe it. Think about how many dreams have died because someone accepted the first negative idea that floated through their mind. I'm not good enough. I'll embarrass myself. Someone else will do it better. These thoughts are not facts. They're fears wearing costumes. When you challenge them, you expose them. You strip them of their power. You shine a light on the difference between reality and perception. And the moment you do that, you start reclaiming your mental territory. You start seeing that fear is not there to guide you. It's there to test you. What most people don't realize is that negative thoughts grow stronger in silence. When you don't confront them, they multiply. They stack up. They build entire narratives about your worth, your future, your potential. That's why challenging negativity is not a one-time event. It's a daily battle. Every morning, every high-pressure moment, every goal you chase, negativity will try to pull you back into comfort. It will tempt you with old habits, old excuses, old insecurities. But you are not required to accept the first story your brain tells you. You have the power to rewrite it, to respond to fear with truth, to respond to doubt with evidence, to respond to negativity with resilience. You are not a prisoner of your thoughts. You are the one who chooses which thoughts live and which thoughts leave. And let's address something real. Sometimes negativity comes from your own past. Maybe you failed once, and now your brain uses that memory like a weapon. Maybe someone said something cruel years ago, and their voice still echoes louder than it should. Maybe you've convinced yourself that certain dreams are not for people like you. Challenging negative thoughts means challenging your history too. It means interrupting the old patterns that shaped you but no longer serve you. It means acknowledging where the thought came from, but refusing to let it decide where you're going. You can honor your past without becoming hostage to it. You can learn from pain without living in it. Every time you challenge an old negative belief, you break another chain. Challenging negativity is also about creating new internal language. Instead of "I can't," you learn to say "I can try." Instead of "I always mess up," you say "I'm learning." Instead of "this is too hard," you say "hard is where growth happens." You shift the tone of your inner voice from critic to coach, from punishment to progress. Because the way you speak to yourself is the foundation of how you navigate the world. If your inner voice is cruel, the world feels harsh. If your inner voice is hopeful, the world feels possible. And that shift doesn't require perfection. Only awareness, only intention, only the courage to speak to yourself with the same compassion you offer everyone else. And when you finally learn to push back, really push back, everything changes. Fear stops feeling like a wall and starts feeling like a challenge. Doubt stops controlling you and starts revealing where you need to grow. You become mentally stronger, emotionally steadier, spiritually louder. You don't crumble at the first sign of resistance. You anchor yourself to truth, to purpose, to possibility. Challenging negative thoughts is not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about refusing to surrender your potential to a voice that never had the right to define you. The more you challenge negativity, the more your life begins to reflect who you truly are, not who fear tried to convince you to be. Challenge every negative thought, because the moment you stop bowing to fear, you start rising into the life that was always meant to be yours. The people around you shape more than your mood. They shape your mindset, your ambition, and the direction of your life. Human beings are energy-driven creatures, whether we admit it or not. We absorb the emotions, the attitudes, and the expectations of those we spend the most time with. If someone constantly complains, you start noticing the cracks instead of the possibilities. If someone constantly doubts, you begin questioning yourself. If someone constantly belittles their own dreams, you start shrinking yours. This is why choosing your circle is not a casual decision, it's a strategic one. The right people don't control you, but they influence you. They push you, they elevate you. And the wrong people, they don't just hold you back, they convince you to hold yourself back. Every time you step into a room, you can feel the difference between people who bring fire and people who bring ice. Fire ignites you. It sparks something in your spirit. It challenges you to grow, to stretch, to rise above your comfort zone. Ice freezes you. It numbs your ambition. It makes you second-guess the instinct that was trying to protect your dreams. And the tragedy is that many people spend years, sometimes decades, surrounded by the wrong kind of energy because it's familiar. Familiar doesn't mean healthy. Familiar doesn't mean supportive. Familiar simply means repeated. If you want a different future, you sometimes have to choose a different environment, not out of arrogance, but out of self-preservation. There will always be people who fear your potential because it threatens their comfort. They'll tell you that you're changing, as if that's a flaw, instead of proof that you're evolving. They'll discourage you from taking risks because they never learned how to take any. They'll mock your goals because they abandoned their own. But understand this clearly. People who are committed to their own growth will never resent yours. People who believe in their own potential will always cheer for yours. Real support doesn't sound like envy. Real support doesn't intimidate. Real support recognizes your greatness without feeling smaller. When you surround yourself with people like that, your dreams stop feeling impossible and start feeling inevitable. Think about the people who inspire you, the ones whose energy lifts you without effort. Notice how they talk. Notice how they move. Notice how they think. They don't drown themselves in negativity. They don't waste time complaining about circumstances. They don't surrender to fear with their hands raised. They look for solutions. They adapt. They speak with a confidence that comes from believing in possibility rather than limitation. Being around them doesn't just make you feel better, it makes you feel like more is within reach. And that is priceless. Because sometimes all you need is to witness someone else believing in themselves to remember how to believe in yourself. But surrounding yourself with empowering people requires courage. It means distancing yourself from those whose energy keeps you stuck. It means letting go of relationships that drain you, even if they've been part of your life for years. It means choosing growth over guilt. Many people will try to make you feel selfish for protecting your energy. That's because they benefited from you staying small. They benefited from you accepting their negativity. But you are not responsible for carrying someone else's lack of ambition. You are not required to shrink yourself to make others comfortable. You are allowed to grow, even if it means outgrowing the people who expected you to stay the same. And when you finally build a circle that reflects the future you want, not the past you survived, you transform. You become braver, you speak louder, you stand taller, you start making decisions that align with your purpose instead of your fears. You start taking steps you once labeled impossible, because now you're surrounded by people who remind you that your goals are not unrealistic, they're simply uncommon. A powerful circle doesn't let you give up on yourself. They hold you accountable. They call you out when you're limiting yourself. They challenge you not to break you, but to reveal the stronger version of you that's been waiting underneath the doubt. With the right people behind you, your life becomes bigger, your dreams become bolder, and your belief in yourself becomes unshakable. Surround yourself with people who add fire, not ice, because the right energy doesn't just support your growth, it accelerates it. Fear has a way of seducing the mind. It grabs your attention before anything else does. It's loud, persistent, and always seems to arrive at the worst possible moment. Fear presents itself like a responsible guide, whispering, "I'm just trying to protect you," when really it's trying to paralyze you. You start imagining worst-case scenarios with more detail than your actual dreams. You replay mistakes that haven't even happened yet. And the more you stare at what could go wrong, the more the mind convinces you that disaster is waiting just around the corner. Redirecting your focus doesn't mean ignoring fear. It means refusing to make fear your North Star. Because when fear becomes the direction you walk toward, you lose sight of everything you deserve to walk toward. Your focus is one of the most powerful forces you have, and yet most people spend it on everything that drains them. They focus on problems instead of solutions. They focus on obstacles instead of opportunities. They focus on what they lack instead of what they can build. And they wonder why their life feels heavy. What you focus on grows, always. Focus on fear, fear expands. Focus on doubt, doubt multiplies. Focus on negativity, negativity becomes your lens. But the opposite is just as true. Focus on possibility, and possibility shows up. Focus on progress, and progress accelerates. Focus on who you are becoming, and the old version of you starts losing its grip. Your life begins to mirror the direction of your attention. It's easy to believe that you're being realistic by preparing for every potential failure. But realism isn't about predicting the worst. It's about acknowledging your power to influence the outcome. The most successful people on the planet don't deny challenges. They simply don't give challenges more attention than necessary. They don't obsess over every way things might fall apart. They study the path, they prepare for the journey, and then they focus relentlessly on the destination. They understand that focus is not just mental, it's emotional and spiritual. When you direct your focus toward what you want, you align your energy, your decisions, your habits, and your actions with that vision. You stop feeding fear and start feeding your future. And let's be real, redirecting your focus is an act of discipline. Your mind will always try to drag you back into old fears, because that's what it knows. The brain loves familiarity. Even if familiarity is toxic, it will replay old pain, old failures, old insecurities because it recognizes them. But you're not here to live a life controlled by your past. You're here to build a life driven by your purpose. That means training your mind with the same consistency you'd use to train your body. It means catching yourself when you spiral into doubt, pulling your attention back when it drifts toward negativity, and reminding yourself, again and again, that your focus is a choice, and choices can be changed at any moment. When you redirect your focus toward what you want, everything else in your life begins to shift. You start noticing opportunities that were always there but hidden behind your anxiety. You start seeing progress in places where you once only saw problems. You start feeling inspired instead of drained. You start building momentum. And momentum is powerful because once it starts, it multiplies. One good decision leads to the next. One step forward makes the next step easier. One moment of courage becomes a habit of courage. Redirecting your focus doesn't just change your thoughts, it changes your entire trajectory. Suddenly, you're not reacting to life, you're choosing your life. And the most beautiful part? You realize that fear never disappears, it just loses the authority it once had over you. You stop letting fear pilot your decisions. You stop letting doubt choose your direction. You stop giving negativity front row seats in your mind. You start focusing on your strengths, your vision, your future. You start trusting yourself more than you trust your fears. And once you reach that point, everything opens up. Your goals feel closer. Your confidence feels real. Your purpose feels reachable. Because you're no longer being pulled by what you fear. You're being pulled by what you want. And that is where true power lives. Redirect your focus toward what you want, because what you choose to look at becomes the life you eventually live. There is a moment in every dreamer's life when thinking is no longer enough, when planning is no longer enough, when visualizing, journaling, and hoping are no longer enough. There comes a moment when the only thing left to do is move, because nothing kills negativity faster than action. Real action, the kind that disrupts your doubt and tells your fear, "I'm doing this anyway." You can overthink for years and make zero progress, but give yourself one decisive step and everything shifts. Action is the antidote to uncertainty. Action is the enemy of hesitation. Action is the one thing negativity can't argue with. Doubt can't survive a person who keeps moving. Most people wait for motivation to strike before they act. They wait for confidence, for clarity, for permission, for the right mood, the right day, the right sign. But that's not how transformation works. Motivation doesn't come first, movement does. Action produces momentum, and momentum produces confidence. It's when you're doing the work, not thinking about the work, that your belief begins to strengthen. Negativity thrives in stillness. When you're doing nothing, your mind fills the space with fear. When you're moving, your mind fills with direction. You cannot think your way into a new life, you have to act your way into it. Even the smallest step can break the heaviest pattern. The truth is, action exposes everything. Your strengths, your weaknesses, your habits, your potential. That's why people avoid it. Staying still keeps you comfortable, even if that comfort is suffocating. But action forces honesty. It reveals what's possible. It shows you what needs work. And most importantly, it builds evidence. When you act, you gather proof that you can do hard things. Proof that you can survive discomfort. Proof that your goals are not just fantasies, they're reachable. This is why negativity hates action, because it can't convince you you're incapable when your results say otherwise. Every step you take weakens the voice that tells you to stop trying. But here's what many people never learn. Action doesn't have to be perfect to be powerful. You can act while afraid. You can act while confused. You can act while doubting yourself. Perfection is not the requirement. Participation is. Showing up, even in an imperfect way, still counts. You don't need the entire staircase, you only need the next step. Progress is not built on flawless execution. It's built on persistence. It's built on courage. It's built on the decision to keep going when the negativity in your mind is begging you to sit down. Imperfect action has built more success stories than perfect hesitation ever will. And the more you act, the more you realize something liberating. Movement creates clarity. So many people think they need clarity before they take action, but clarity is often the reward, not the starting point. When you try, you learn. When you move, you discover. When you experiment, you grow. By acting, you gather information that thinking alone could never give you. You learn what works for you and what doesn't. You learn what lights you up and what drains you. You learn which direction feels right and which is a dead end. Negativity tries to keep you frozen in fear, but action keeps you evolving. And when you evolve, negativity loses its grip. Eventually, consistent action becomes a mindset. You stop negotiating with your excuses. You stop allowing fear to dictate your pace. You stop waiting for a sign because you understand you are the sign. You build a habit of movement. You develop a rhythm of progress. And soon you're not just taking steps, you're creating waves. Your life begins to shift because you're no longer living in your head, you're living in your purpose. You become the kind of person who follows through, the kind of person who doesn't back down, the kind of person negativity can't intimidate. And that is where your power explodes. When your actions start speaking louder than your fears ever did, take action. Because every step you choose to make is a step that silence, fear, and negativity lose forever.